Phnom Penh. Phnom Penh is the capital and most populous city of Cambodia. It has been the national capital since the French protectorate of Cambodia and has grown to become the nation's primate city and its economic, industrial, and cultural center. Phnom Penh succeeded Angkor Thom as the capital of the Khmer nation, but was abandoned several times before being re-established in 1865 by King Norodom. The city formerly functioned as a processing center, with textiles, pharmaceuticals, machine manufacturing, and rice milling. Its chief assets, however, were cultural. Institutions of higher learning included the Royal University of Phnom Penh, established in 1960 as Royal Khmer University, with schools of engineering, fine arts, technology, and agricultural sciences, the latter at Cham Kadong, a suburb. Also located in Phnom Penh were the Royal University of Agronomic Sciences and the Agricultural School of Prek Leap. The city was nicknamed the Pearl of Asia for its early 20th century colonial French architecture, which included Art Deco works. Phnom Penh, along with Siem Reap and Sihanoukville, significant global and domestic tourist destinations for Cambodia. Founded in 1372, the city is noted for its historical architecture and attractions. It became the national capital in 1434 following the fall of Angkor, and remained so until 1497. It regained its capital status during the French colonial era in 1865. There are a number of surviving colonial-era buildings scattered along the Grand Boulevards. On the banks of the Tunnel Sap, Mekong, and Bass Sac rivers, Phnom Penh is home to more than 2 million people, approximately 14% of the Cambodian population. The Greater Phnom Penh area includes the nearby Ta Kamau city and some districts of Kandal province. Phnom Penh, lit. Penh's Hill, takes its name from the present Wat Phnom, lit. Hill Temple, or from the former Funan Kingdom, an ancient kingdom that existed from 1st to 7th century AD in Southeast Asia and the forerunner of the current Cambodian monarchy. Legend has it that in 1372, a wealthy widow named Peng found a koki tree floating down the Tunnel Sap River after a storm. Inside the tree were 4 bronze Buddha statues and a stone statue of Vishnu. Peng ordered villagers to raise the height of the hill northeast of her house and used the koki wood to build a temple on the hill to house the 4 Buddha statues, and a shrine for the Vishnu image slightly lower down. The temple became known as Wat Phnom Dawn Peng, which is now known as Wat Phnom, a small hill 27 meters, 89 feet, in height. Phnom Penh's former official name is Krong Chaktamuk Saray Mongkol, City of the Brahma's Faces, in its short form as Krong Chaktamuk, City of 4 Faces. Krong Chaktamuk is an abbreviation of the full name which was given by King Ponhea Yat, Krong Chaktamuk Mongkol Sakal Kampuchea Thipade Saray Thi Creek Bavar Intabat Bori Rote Reach Sima Moha Noka. This loosely translates as the place of 4 rivers that gives the happiness and success of Khmer Kingdom, the highest leader as well as impregnable city of the god Indra of the Great Kingdom. The initial settlement of Phnom Penh is believed to have been established since the 5th century AD, according to the discovery of ancient kill site in Choangek commune of Dunkao district, southern part of central Phnom Penh in the early 2000s. Choungek archaeological site was one of the largest kill pottery center in Cambodia and the earliest known kill sites in Southeast Asia to produce the ceremonial vessels known as kendi from 5th to 13th century. Archaeologists stated that a large community is surrounded by a circular earthwork structure that is 740 meters in diameter and 4 meters high, built in the 11th century. In addition, there are remnants of other ancient village infrastructure, irrigation system, inscription, Shiva Linga, as well as an ancient brick temple foundation and its ornate remains, which dated back to Funan era. First recorded a century after it is said to have taken place, the legend of the founding of Phnom Penh tells of a local woman, Peng, commonly referred to as Dawn Peng, Lady Peng in Khmer, living at Chakdamak, the future Phnom Penh. It was the late 14th century, and the Khmer capital was still at Angkor near Siem Reap, 350 kilometers, 217 miles, to the north. Gathering firewood along the banks of the river, Lady Peng spied a floating koki tree in the river and fished it from the water. Inside the tree she found 4 Buddha statues and one of Vishnu. The discovery was taken as a divine blessing, and to some a sign that the Khmer capital was to be brought to Phnom Penh from Angkor. To house the newfound sacred objects, Peng raised a small hill on the west bank of the Tunnel Sap River and crowned it with a shrine, now known as Wat Phnom, at the north end of central Phnom Penh. Phnom is Khmer for hill, and Peng's Hill took on the name of the founder, and the area around it became known after the hill. Phnom Penh first became the capital of Cambodia after Ponhir Yat, king of the Khmer Empire, moved the capital from Angkor Thom after it was captured and destroyed by Siam a few years earlier. There is a stupa behind Wat Phnom that houses the remains of Ponhir Yat and the royal family, as well as the remaining Buddhist statues from the Angkorian era. In the 17th century, Japanese immigrants also settled on the outskirts of present-day Phnom Penh. A small Portuguese community survived in Phnom Penh until the 17th century, undertaking commercial and religious activity in the country. Phnom Penh remained the royal capital for 73 years, from 1432 to 1505. It was abandoned for 360 years, from 1505 to 1865, by subsequent kings due to internal fighting between the royal pretenders. Later kings moved the capital several times and established their royal capitals at various locations in Chul Basin, Srey Santhor, Pursat, Longvik, Lavirem and Odong. It was not until 1866, under the reign of King Norodomai, 1860 to 1904, the eldest son of King Andwong, who ruled on behalf of Siam, that Phnom Penh became the permanent seat of government and capital of Cambodia, and also where the current royal palace was built. Beginning in 1870, the French colonial authorities turned a riverside village into a city where they built hotels, schools, prisons, barracks, banks, public works offices, telegraph offices, law courts, and health services buildings. In 1872, the first glimpse of a modern city took shape when the colonial administration employed the services of French contractor La Fauchère to construct the first 300 concrete houses for sale and rental to Chinese traders. By the 1920s, Phnom Penh was known as the Pearl of Asia, and over the next 4 decades, Phnom Penh continued to experience rapid growth with the building of railways to Sihanoukville and Pochentong International Airport, now Phnom Penh International Airport. Phnom Penh's infrastructure saw major modernization under the rule of Sihanouk. During the Vietnam War, Cambodia was used as a base by the People's Army of Vietnam and the Viet Cong, and thousands of refugees from across the country flooded the city to escape the fighting between their own government troops, the People's Army of Vietnam, the Viet Cong, the South Vietnamese and their allies, the Khmer Rouge, and American airstrikes. By 1975, the population was 2 to 3 million, the bulk of whom were refugees from the fighting. The Khmer Rouge cut off supplies to the city for more than a year before it fell on April 17, 1975. Reports from journalists stated that the Khmer Rouge shelling tortured the capital almost continuously, inflicting random death and mutilation on millions of trapped civilians. The Khmer Rouge forcibly evacuated the entire city after taking it, in what has been described as a death march. Francois Ponchaud wrote that, "I shall never forget one cripple who had neither hands nor feet, writhing along the ground like a severed worm, or a weeping father carrying his 10-year-old daughter wrapped in a sheet tied around his neck like a sling, or the man with his foot dangling at the end of a leg to which it was attached by nothing but skin." John Swain recalled that the Khmer Rouge were tipping out patients from the hospitals like garbage into the streets. In 5 years of war, this is the greatest caravan of human misery I have seen. All of its residents, including the wealthy and educated, were evacuated from the city and forced to do difficult labor on rural farms as new people. Chul Sleng High School was taken over by Pol Pot's forces and was turned into the S-21 prison camp, where people were detained and tortured. Pol Pot sought a return to an agrarian economy and therefore killed many people perceived as educated, lazy, spies, or political enemies. Many others starved to death as a result of failure of the agrarian society and the sale of Cambodia's rice to China in exchange for bullets and weaponry. The former high school is now the Chul Sleng Genocide Museum, where Khmer Rouge torture devices and photos of their victims are displayed. Chowangek, the killing fields, 15 kilometers, 9 miles, away, where the Khmer Rouge marched prisoners from Chul Sleng to be murdered and buried in shallow pits, is also now a memorial to those who were killed by the regime. The Khmer Rouge were driven out of Phnom Penh by the People's Army of Vietnam in 1979, and people began to return to the city. Vietnam is historically a state with which Cambodia has had many conflicts. Therefore, this liberation was and is viewed with mixed emotions by the Cambodians. A period of reconstruction began, spurred by the continuing stability of government, attracting new foreign investment and aid by countries including France, Australia, and Japan. Loans were made from the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank to reinstate a clean water supply, roads, and other infrastructure. The 1998 census put Phnom Penh's population at 862,000, and the 2008 census was 1.3 million. By 2019, its population reached over 2.2 million, based on general population census. Phnom Penh is in the south-central region of Cambodia, and is fully surrounded by the Kandal province. The municipality is on the banks of the Tunnel Sap, Mekong, and Bass Sac rivers. These rivers provide freshwater and other natural resources to the city. Phnom Penh and the surrounding areas consist of a typical floodplain area for Cambodia. Although Phnom Penh is at 11.89 meters, 39 feet, above the river, monsoon season flooding is a problem, and the river sometimes overflows its banks. The city, at 11.55 degrees north, 104.91667 degrees east, 11 degrees 33 minutes north, 104 degrees 55 minutes east, covers an area of 678.46 square kilometers, 262 square miles, with some 11,401 hectares, 28,172 acres, in the municipality and 26,106 hectares, 64,509 acres, of roads. The agricultural land in the municipality amounts to 34.685 square kilometers, 13 square miles, with some 1.476 square kilometers, 365 acres, under irrigation. Phnom Penh has a tropical wet and dry climate, Köppen climate classification AW. The climate is hot year-round with only minor variations. Temperatures typically range from 22 to 35 degrees Celsius, 72 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and weather is subject to the tropical monsoons. The southwest monsoon blows inland, bringing moisture-laden winds from the Gulf of Thailand and Indian Ocean from May to November. The northeast monsoon ushers in the dry season, which lasts from December to April. The city experiences the heaviest precipitation from September to October, with the driest period in January and February. Phnom Penh is an autonomous municipality of area 678.46 square kilometers, 261.95 square miles, with a government status equal to that of the provinces. The autonomous municipality is subdivided into 14 administrative divisions called khans, sections. The districts are subdivided into 105 sankats, quarters, and further subdivided into 953 phums, villages. All khans are under the governance of Phnom Penh. Dang Khao, Meanchi, Porsanchi, Sen Sok, and Russi Keo are considered the outskirts of the city. Phnom Penh is governed by the governor, who acts as the top executive of the city, as well as overseeing the municipal military police, municipal police, and Bureau of Urban Affairs. Below the governor is the first vice-governor and 5 vice-governors. The chief of cabinet, who holds the same status as the vice-governors, heads the cabinet, consisting of 8 deputy chiefs of cabinet, who in turn are in charge of the 27 administrative departments. Every khans also has a chief. As of 2019, Phnom Penh had a population of 2,129,371 people, with a total population density of 3,136 inhabitants per square kilometer in a 679 square kilometers, 262 square miles, city area. The population growth rate of the city is 3.92%. The city area has grown fourfold since 1979, and the metro area will continue to expand in order to support the city's growing population and economy. A survey by the National Institute of Statistics in 2017 showed that 95.3% of the population in Phnom Penh are Khmer, 4% Khams, and 0.7% others, predominantly Chinese, Vietnamese, and other small ethnic groups who are Thai, Budong, Nong Pray, Kiwi and Chong. Phnom Penh is Cambodia's economic center as it accounts for a large portion of the Cambodian economy. Double-digit economic growth rates in recent years have triggered an economic boom in Phnom Penh, with new hotels, restaurants, schools, bars, high-rises, and residential buildings springing up in the city. The economy is based on commercial interests such as garments, trading, and small and medium enterprises. In the past few years, the property business has been booming, with rapidly increasing real estate prices. Tourism is also a major contributor in the capital as more shopping and commercial centers open, making Phnom Penh one of the major tourist destinations in Southeast Asia along with Siem Reap and Sihanoukville. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, tourism made up 19.2%, $2,053 million, of Cambodia's GDP in 2000. The $2.6 billion new urban development, Camco City, is meant to bolster the city landscape. The Bureau of Urban Affairs of Phnom Penh Municipality has plans to expand and construct new infrastructure to accommodate the growing population and economy. High-rise buildings will be constructed at the entrance of the city and near the lakes and riverbanks. Furthermore, new roads, canals, and a railway system will be used to connect Camco City and Phnom Penh. Other projects include Grand Phnom Penh International City, under construction. The Castle Royal Condominium, completed. Gold Tower 42, on hold 32 floors. Construction begins again in the mid of 2018. OCIC Tower, completed. Cokeling Super second floor house. Vatanak Capital Tower, completed. The Bridge, completed. The Peak, completed. With booming economic growth seen since the 1990s, new shopping venues have opened, such as Soria Center Point, Eon Mall Phnom Penh, Eon Mall Sen Sok City, Eon Mall Mean Chey and Olympia Mall. Many international brands have opened such as Mango, Salvatore Ferragamo, Hugo Boss, Padini Concept Store, Lily, Timberland, Jimmy Choo, CCOO, MO, Brands Outlet, Nike, Converse, Pony, Armani Exchange, and Superdry. The tallest skyscraper in Phnom Penh is Vatanak Capital Tower at a height of 188 meters, 617 feet, dominating Phnom Penh's skyline with its neighbor skyscraper Canada Tower, OCIC Tower. The tower was completed in December 2014. Modern high-rises have been constructed all around the city, not concentrated in any one particular area. The Central Market South May is a tourist attraction. The four wings of the yellow-colored market are teeming with numerous stalls selling gold and silver jewelry, antique coins, clothing, clocks, flowers, food, fabrics and shoes. South May is undergoing under a major renovation, along with the creation of newer stalls. Phnom Penh also has its own dialect of Khmer. Speakers of the Phnom Penh dialect often elide syllables, which has earned it a reputation for being lazy speech. Phnom Penh is also known for its influence on New Khmer architecture. Phnom Penh is notable for Teochew Phnom Penh, its variation on rice noodle soup, a dish available in sit-down cafes as well as street cafes. The city hosts a number of music events throughout the city. Indie bands have grown in number due also in part to the emergence of private music schools such as Sounds Cool Music, also operating in the city of Siem Reap, and Music Arts School, registered as a non-governmental organization. The Cambodian fishing dance originated in Phnom Penh at the Royal University of Fine Arts in the 1960s. The two most visited museums in the city are the National Museum, which is the country's leading historical and archaeological museum, and Chul Slame Genocide Museum, a former Khmer Rouge prison. The National Museum hosts celebrations of Cambodian dance and music, including a popular classic Apsara dance show of traditional folk dances as well as original creations. At this time, Phnom Penh celebrates Cambodian New Year, an occasion increasingly popular with tourists. During this typically hottest part of the year, water gets thrown around, adding to the party atmosphere along with dancing and music. The precise date changes year by year, but this holiday lasts, at least, 3 days. This festival marks the turn of the year based on the ancient Khmer calendar and also marks the end of the prior year harvest. The largest annual festival in Phnom Penh, this lively gathering celebrates the reversing of the flow of the Tunnel Sap River. The holiday lasts 3 days as people flood into the city to enjoy the fireworks, boat races, live concerts, eating and partying. The boat racing dates back to ancient times, marking the strengths of the Khmer Marine Forces during the Khmer Empire. On November 22, 2010, at least 348 people were crushed to death in a bridge stampede at the festival. Ancestors' Day, also called Phnom Ben, is a very important aspect of Cambodian culture. It may be translated as gathering together to make offerings and is a time of reunion, commemoration, express love and appreciation for one's ancestors. By offering food and good karma to those possibly trapped in the spirit world, living relatives help assuage their misery and guide them back into the cycle of reincarnation. Veska is an annual holiday observed traditionally by Buddhists in Cambodia. Sometimes informally called Buddha's birthday, it actually encompasses the birth, enlightenment, nirvana, and passing away, parinirvana, of Gautama Buddha. The oldest structure is Wat Phnom from the founding days of the city, constructed in 1373. The main tourist attractions are the Royal Palace with the Silver Pagoda, and the National Museum, constructed during the French colonial era in the late 19th century in the classical Khmer style and hosting a vast collection of Khmer antiquities. The Independence Monument, Khmer, Vimian Acreage, although from the 1950s, is also constructed in the ancient Khmer style. The French, who were the colonial masters from the 19th century to the 1940s, also left their mark, with various colonial villas, French churches, boulevards, and the Art Deco market Phsar Tom Thmay. A notable landmark of the colonial era is the Hotel Le Royal. Starting with independence from the French in the 1950s and lasting until the era of the Khmer Rouge in the 1970s, Phnom Penh underwent tremendous growth as the capital city of a newly independent country. King Sihanouk was eager to present a new style of architecture and thus invigorate the process of nation building. A new golden era of architecture took off, with various projects and young Khmer architects, often educated in France, given opportunities to design and construct. This new movement was called New Khmer Architecture, and was often characterized by a fusion of Bauhaus, European postmodern architecture, and traditional elements from Angkor. The most prominent architect was Van Molevan, who was nominated Chief National Architect by the King himself in 1956. Molevan created landmark buildings such as the Prix Suramarit National Theatre or the Van Molevan House. Other architects helped construct the newly founded Royal Khmer University, the Institute of Foreign Languages, and the National Sports Centre. With the growth of the upper and entrepreneurial middle classes, new suburbs were built in the 1950s and 1960s. Although these buildings survived the Khmer Rouge era and the Civil War, today they are under threat due to economic development and financial speculation. Villas and gardens from that era are being destroyed and redeveloped to make place for bigger structures. The landmark National Theatre by Molevan was raised in 2008. A movement is rising in Cambodia to preserve this modernist heritage. Old villas are sometimes being converted into boutique hotels, such as the Nai Bang Chat. Monuments and memorials to the genocide of the Khmer Rouge era in the 1970s are the Chul Sleng Genocide Museum, a former high school used as a concentration camp, and, on the outskirts of the city, the Choan Gek Genocide Center. The Cambodia-Vietnam Friendship Monument was commissioned by the Vietnamese Communists, a symbol of Khmer-Vietnamese friendship during the late 1970s following the liberation of Cambodia from the Khmer Rouge. The population, foreign investment, and urban development in Phnom Penh grew dramatically during the 1990s and early 2000s. The rapid growth resulted in the city's infrastructure distinctly lacking. The drainage system is particularly notorious, and Phnom Penh frequently floods during the wet season, and a need for both residential and commercial spaces. The simultaneous demand for residential and commercial housing and the increase of international investment has led to the planning, if not construction, of several satellite cities. The largest of these cities are Grand Phnom Penh International City, Kam Keo City, Diamond Island City, Bern Kak Town, and Krui Kangva City. On the outskirts of the city, farmland has been developed into garment factories and housing for lower economic classes and those displaced by the new development in the city centre. Originally intended to be completed by 2020, The 2035 Master Plan is a French-funded project for the development of Phnom Penh. Although the plan was approved by the Ministry of Land Management, Urban Planning and Construction in 2005, it has yet to be ratified by the Cabinet of Cambodia. The original plan details 5 edge city projects connected to the historical city centre by waterways and tree-lined corridors. The martial arts of Bokata, Pradal Siri, Khmer kickboxing, and Khmer traditional wrestling have venues in Phnom Penh watched by dedicated spectators. Cambodia has increasingly become involved in modern sports over the last 30 years. As with the rest of the country, football and the martial arts are particularly popular. Ultimate fighting and freestyle boxing have also become more common in recent years. The most prominent sporting venue in the city is the Phnom Penh National Olympic Stadium, with a capacity of 50,000, although the country never hosted the Olympic Games due to disruption by the Civil War and the Khmer Rouge in the 1970s. Built in 1964, it is home to the Cambodian national football team. On completion, the stadium was one of the largest in Asia. Volleyball, basketball, and taekwondo games are often hosted at the stadium. The stadium closed in 2000, but was redeveloped and reopened. In footballing ventures, Phnom Penh is formally